So as far as the Patriot movement, and that's what LWN is, we are part of many patriots out there searching for the truth and delivering the news like it should be delivered. Hello, America. We're back again for another friendly reminder from Miles Franklin. If you guys need help protecting yourself, protecting your family, and protecting your retirement, you guys can go to info@milesfranklin.com. Use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation. Here are some of the specials that they're running this week. They have the 2023 Golden Britannia while supplies last, only $85 over spot. They also have the 2023 Silver Britannia while supplies last, only $7.50 over spot. If you are concerned about what the economy could do here in the United States or even the world economy, go to info@milesfranklin.com, use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation, and allow Andy and his team to help guide you through the process of even flipping your 401k to an IRA or into precious metals. Precious metals have been proven over 5,000 years to be considered wealth. It can help you against inflation, about one of the only things that truly can help you against inflation. And if you want to protect that retirement, again, reach out to info@milesfranklin.com. Use promo code Liberty Warrior Nation and allow Andy and his team to give you a hand.
All right, welcome back, America, to another great evening here at LWN. I've got two gentlemen with me tonight. Darin, I've had on before from Restore Liberty, and his partner Blaine is now with us tonight also. And we're going to have a great conversation. We're going to burn it down tonight. We're talking about all those topics that we're not supposed to say those trigger words, those buzzwords. Well, no more. The truth is coming out, and these two gentlemen are on a mission to try to help restore the republic here in America. With that being said, I'd like to introduce Darin and Blaine to the show from Restore Liberty. How are you guys doing this evening?
Oh, we're doing great.
Absolutely.
There you are.
Yeah. We're real.
We're as real as we can be. So I'm Blaine Holt, a co-founder with Darin here, partner in Liberty on the Restore Liberty project. I'm a retired brigadier general from the U.S. Air Force, an entrepreneur. And I think that what we are is Darin and I set out after the 2020 elections to build an organization that wasn't blue, it wasn't red. It was absolutely an American organization that was committed to halting the slide of this disrespect of our Constitution and our civil liberties, which over time have been under fire, and that trend has not stopped. In fact, it's just becoming even more of a crisis. And so we're committed to being out there and vocal, but reestablishing with Americans and reacquainting them with our Constitution, our founders, our American values, as a contrast to what we see before us, which is wokeism, socialism, communism, an endearment for global elites that is really costing us in all kinds of ways economically. It's costing us. We're on the brink of World War III. We're looking at very dangerous situations for our sons and daughters, our grandchildren. And so that's why Darin and I got together on a very cold Idaho morning with pounds of butcher paper putting together what a brilliant 501c3 and a 501c4 organization could look like.
Hey, there you have it. The Brigadier General right out of the corner with a 1-2-3 punch, not holding anything back. And I love that, because this is burn it down. We are going to burn it down. We want to break it down to the simplest form, find our foundation, which in my opinion is Jesus Christ, our rock, and the foundation that our forefathers built this nation on. We need to get back to that foundation and then build from there up, because for too long, the elite, our government have been building it from the top down, suppressing us, enslaving us, and it's time to take this nation back. And the way that we do that is not through violence. It's not through being kinetic. It's through learning our rights, because if you don't know your rights, you don't know what you're fighting for. And we've had so many great guests here at LWN that have taught us the Constitution, speak about the Constitution. You know, gentlemen, I'm 40. I'll be 48 years old here in about 4 or 5 more days. No, actually 3 days. I think it's 3 days. I'll be 48 years old. And in the last, in the last 18 months, I've learned more about the Constitution than I ever did in 12 years of public school and 4 years of college. The Constitution should be hanging on every wall in every family's dining room across America, and every person in this country should know the Constitution upside down, right side up, sideways. You should know it by heart, because that's where our power lies, is we the people in that Constitution. And we are a republic. We're not a democracy. I keep seeing all these politicians saying this is the greatest threat to democracy. And we've been told over and over again, they're telling us the truth. What is democracy? It's mob rule. It's the elite ruling over we the people. And it is an attack on democracy, because we're attacking their power. Their elitism is being attacked by we the people, because we're taking our power back. And with that being said, Darin, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Mike. Yeah, it is a pleasure to work alongside of Blaine with this effort, and just magnifying and restating what he said in a different way. I'll start off with saying that I'm upstairs writing an article right now called "The Uniparty Must Die." I'm pretty sure that you're okay with that statement. And part of me says that this is also, it's kind of like going to watch theater. The news is all focused on a coming red wave and all these marks of hope for the future, and everybody's going, yes, this could happen, and of course it starts with a legitimate election. But two, it's kind of like we're the audience instead of the people that we're supposed to be. They turn the lights down on the stage, they change the set, they bring in different players, but in the end you still get to the same conclusion regardless of what color or animal is your logo. So that's why we said Restore Liberty is just one of those places that truly is nonpartisan. We don't care anything about party and anything like that. We want you to be an American citizen. We want to vote for our representatives in government who measure themselves up against one thing and one thing only, and that is the contract under which we all live, called the Constitution. And naturally, all of us here would agree that there is a certain biblical approach to that as well, since that's the foundation of the Constitution. But let's get back to that document. Read it, understand it, and follow it. Shouldn't be that hard. But people are people, and they want their power. And
correct.
We just,
the left always likes to say it's outdated, it needs shredded, it needs rewritten. It's not any of those. It just needs to be reread, and it needs to be followed to the T, and not have all of these different facets of the Constitution that the elite use for their little loopholes of jumping in and out of things. I got to find the name of this TikToker that I follow, because I got to give him credit for the phrase that he coined. And it goes right along with what you guys are talking about here. It has nothing to do about red or blue. And his phrase is this: There are no Republicans and there are no Democrats. It's us against them. And that's how I feel like what's going on right here in America today. Because of course the left, they're crazy. They're insane. They want to jam gender identity down the throat of our kids. They want an open border policy. I mean, we could go down the whole list of all that stuff. So we know the left, they're insane. They're crazy. They want to morally destroy America. They want to destroy America, and they've taken us from America first to America last. They've taken us from America energy independent to America energy dependent now. But we also have to talk about the right. We also have to talk about the rhinos that are in office, the Lindsey Grahams, the Mitt Romneys, the Mitch the Turtle Man McConnell, and even worse than some of those is even Kevin McCarthy, in my opinion, because he's out there right now wanting to become Speaker of the House, and he tells people what they want to hear. If you give us the power back in the House and the Senate, we're gonna change all this. We're gonna go to work for you guys. Well, one of my brothers, John Estabrook, says this: you don't need my vote to go to work. Go to work now. Why are you not on the steps of the Capitol? Why are you not on the steps of the White House protesting what's going on with COVID-19 and the vaccines and many, many other subject matters that we could talk about that they're not fighting for the American people for? So it's not about just calling the left out. It's about calling the right out as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But if there's one thing, just one thing I could call the framers out on, it's, man, I wish you guys would have understood power and term limits. I wish you would have understood that, because we're in a pickle now, guys. And, we're going to fight for Article 5 so that the states can run around D.C. But even that movement got weird after so much money flowing through groups and the like. But to your point, it's really we the people versus elitism and elites. And some will camouflage themselves better than others, but make no mistake, this is about DC, the status quo, the power arrangements staying the way they are. And if we keep falling into these processes and we don't challenge them, and we're not skeptical of everybody, meaning the media on the right or the left tells me, oh, this team is good, this team is bad. See, it's very simple. Then we're going to be doomed to the same failures. But if we will be suspicious of everybody, of the media, social media, the lobbying groups, the special interests, the politicians, their staffers, and all of that, if we will hold them to account, if we can make them understand, we have self-governance. We might have ignored it for a long time until you scared the living bejeebers out of us. But we have self-governance, and we're going to insist that we take that back now. There's a variety of ways that can happen. Let's go to the Constitution. So this cabal, and I mean the cabal on both sides of that aisle, have violated clearly in the last 2 years minimum Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, which is to protect us, the states, from invasion. And if the legislation cannot be convened, then to protect us also from domestic violence. Does anybody remember Antifa and BLM burning down 28 cities? So they've busted their end of the deal. We then should consider that we have more power in that arrangement with that breach of contract because we have the 10th Amendment. We have state sovereignty. We have personal sovereignty. We have our rights. And our rights don't come from them, even though they would tell you otherwise. Our rights come from God because Amen. We are a country, one nation under God, land of the free, home of the brave. And they've become cliches over many, many years. But no, these are words that have literal meanings to them. And so what I'm excited about, even at this time of grave crisis, looking down the barrel of World War III, looking at our supply chains, looking at our ability to function as a society going back as far as 1932 and the Great Depression, we the people are more powerful than they are because they are little in number and we are strong. They have money. They do have that, no question. However, here's our advantage. They don't know anything about us. They don't know Americans. I've been at CFR. I've been to New York. DC, LA. I've been around the world in my capacity as a foreign policy expert. And I can promise you that the elites have no idea who the American people are, why it's important to go to church on Sunday or attend a Friday night football game and hug on to your community so importantly. They don't get it. And that, honestly, is our secret weapon.
You know, that's a great comment that you just made there, that they have no idea who they truly are messing with. And so many Americans now are really starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, one, something's wrong. Two, we got to do something about this. And here's a question, since you're a military man, and thank you so much for your service, because I get asked this question a lot. The United States military, whatever branch you want to, in a whole, all branches, they don't serve the President of the United States. They serve the Constitution of the United States. So they have to uphold the Constitution. They have to defend us from enemies, foreign and domestic. And I think a lot of people perceive that wrong. They think that the United States military is an extension of the President of the United States' hand. And that's not true, correct?
Darin, you want to jump on that?
That's correct. And that is something that, both of us as military officers, and regardless of rank, it doesn't really matter. We take the oath, and when you take the oath seriously, you recognize in there it says that you are to protect and defend the Constitution, or you're supporting the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. We don't swear fealty. We don't take a knee to a throne and call him the commander in chief or the president or anything like that. Our fealty, our loyalty is to the people and the contract under which we serve. Anything outside of that is an automatic F grade for those people. And that's what we have to remind ourselves as a military. That's what we have to remind ourselves as everybody who takes that oath of office, from the representatives, every level, wherever that oath is taken, they need to read it. They need to read it really slow. And remember that it's an order of priority. And there's no doubt about that in people's minds like ours.
Darin, thank you for your service. If you guys don't remember, when Darin was on last time, he gave us a little bit of his background. He was a pilot. Blaine comes out with a 1-2 punch, and here he tags Darin in, and Darin comes in with another 1-2 punch. People have to understand how powerful the Constitution of the United States is, and how our founding fathers had gone through this. That's why they left England and they came to America to build a new nation. And it's amazing how it seems like they had forethought for everything, and everything that's playing out right now in America. It's almost like they had a crystal ball and they knew that this was going to happen. And so I agree with Blaine. The one thing that they forgot was term limits, because term limits right now are absolutely killing us, and we have to do something about that. Before we came on camera, we started a conversation, and it was great conversation. We were talking about the things that are happening right now, those little strides that encourages people, and in my opinion, sometimes can also be a distraction, because, oh, look at what we did, photo op time. But like you said, Blaine, and I'm going to come back to you, it's not enough. So when we talk about the RNC that has, at week 3 before the midterm elections, they had now reached out to 78 million registered voters. They have over 1 million volunteers across this country. They have 1,000 office staff across the country ready to go for the midterms. They also have 38 brick and mortar buildings in 17 battleground states across America. Now, to the average American, that sounds like a whole lot of good stuff, right? We're making huge strides. Everybody's paying attention. But you said off camera, that's not enough. So could you elaborate on that, sir?
So let me be very clear on election integrity. That's not even close. It's theater. It's just theater. We've got, 15, 16 state legislatures across the nation that have strengthened voting laws to a DOJ that wanted to fight them on the strengthened voting laws. But none of the voting laws are where they need to be. None of them are secure. and we could be looking at a great calamity again. And so here's the thing, unless it's a paper ballot on the day with your ID right there, you better be worried. And here's why. Because all those variables are still in play, and we're seeing stories come out right now. Gateway Pundit's doing a great job talking about election integrity, pointing out that across the nation, early voting, the mail-in ballot boxes that you can dump things into, that they're being watched, and then they dress up people in MAGA wear saying, oh no, the fascists are here. All of this is trying to confuse and make election day gray, foggy, indiscernible. Can't really tell. There's two sides to this thing. We're living in an era where there's blockchain technology, irrefutable, zero trust environment proof of what just happened. And yet we're not embracing that. And could our republic be in more need of election integrity so that we can ensure that we have the self-governance that we is our birthright? The problem is that this time around, it's going to be worse than 2020 because the backdrop has completely changed. We've got runaway inflation. We've got 401ks going into the sewer. We've got people who are now, more people than ever, who are living paycheck to paycheck, wondering if a Great Depression is truly on its way.
Yeah.
Right now, as I'm speaking, we've got 17 days of commercial diesel stocks left in this country. We're looking at World War III. Xi Jinping has infiltrated us in many, many ways where we actually have on TV elected officials who have been seen to be sleeping with Chinese communist spies. And so all has been made in the media. Oh, well, this is it. We're going to have a big red wave. Well, we better, because that would be the logical response to what we've seen play out for the last 2 years. But if we get to a very frail election system, it's going to put the nation, it's going to put our republic, it's going to put the entire system into a very dangerous place, because then the folks who feel that they voted legally into an election that where the trust factor was there and there was integrity will look to these Republicans that you're talking about. And
We got you, Blaine.
yeah.
Uh-oh. There he is. Go ahead,
I'm
brother.
right here. So the point, I guess, and I'm sorry I blacked out there, but the point I'm making is if conditions don't match what actually happens, it's actually these Republican leaders you're talking about who said, oh no, we fixed it, everything is going much better now, who will be the ones to answer for that from a republic that is, look, if we're not picking our leaders, then what are we doing as a nation? And what I'm worried about is what that next place looks like.
I think it was roughly about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, a certain administration made a national holiday in June. I believe it's called Juneteenth.
Yeah.
I don't partake in it. I don't really pay attention to it. But here's my question to Darin. Isn't it about time that we have a national day for voting? I mean, what the heck are we doing here in America? We can have a Juneteenth, and I guarantee you what's next on the old agenda will be a transgender holiday as well, coming to a calendar near you. What does it take to get our government, our representatives, our congressmen and women to say, you know what? This one day in November, every 2 years, needs to be a national holiday where everything stops. Everybody goes to the voting poll. Everybody uses a pen and a piece of paper. All the ballots are counted by that night, and you know the winner the next day. None of this nonsense of, oh, wait a minute, we got to stop at 10 p.m. and we'll pick up tomorrow at 10 a.m. And then it goes days and days and weeks while the trucks back up, boxes come out, and all this that we know that happened in November of 2020. What is it going to take, Darin, to get our representatives, our congressmen and women to say, all right, we have to have a national day of voting to get the integrity back here in America?
And Mike, well, thanks for the easy one. I'll start off with a quote from Mark Twain that says, if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. So that's kind of in the mix there. And I'll go back to what Blaine said too about term limits. First of all, these politicians who are supposed to be representatives, I consider those two different things. They're never going to do it while they're benefiting from the system that they're in. And so it starts by one, if you do term limits and you make them live under their own votes rather than plant themselves in DC and just live off of that for the remainder of their lives and not have to ever deal with the consequences of their own cast votes, you'll never see it happen. So get some term limits, get we the people involved in the great we set, as I like to say, and make sure that we hold these people accountable, both sides. I really don't want to wake up in the country my fathers founded as a captive. I don't like the theater. I like simple-minded people that want to, or simple service-minded people that are ready to get back to the business of governing a nation under very limited powers that are very clearly spelled out in the Constitution. And if anybody asks, there are 18 of them. And every single one of them has been manipulated and used in the attempt to build an oligarchy in DC ruling over all of us. So to fix this, let's find servants. Let's send them to DC. Let's send them to your state houses. Let's work at your county and city level. And let's build, as you said, from the foundation up. What's the point of throwing windows in an empty field if you have no foundation and no framing for your house? So let's start there and work our way up.
Yeah, we got to start all over. I mean, I had Paul Engel on and did an interview with him, Darin, after we all met in Missouri there. Plus, he showed up here in Idaho Falls and did a constitutional study here as well. He said that he did research on federal agencies. He said there's roughly, and I know my number's off a little bit, somewhere between 400 and 500 federal agencies here in America. He says really we only need maybe 20 to 40 of those federal agencies. So that tells you how
that's way too high.
Yeah, that tells you how big government is. I mean, just in my local little town up in the mountains, I was talking to my parents the last couple of days, and they're getting ready to add more people to the county, as employees. It's because they have to build government. That's what government does. Government builds government, and it just gets so big and so out of control that it's a burden on we the people, because now we're paying more in taxes. We have all these restrictions. We have to burn it down. We have to break it down, get it down to the simplest fundamentals. We need small government, and we need we the people to really step up and govern ourselves. We don't need the elite. We don't need the top 1% telling us what to do. We need to be telling them what to do. And I appreciate you guys coming on tonight, because even though a lot of us are all talking about the same thing, there's different perspectives brought to the table. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, is we're not always seeing the same through the same optics. And you two gentlemen, being ex-military and have served our country proudly, you guys see that different than a guy like me who's just been a civilian my entire life. And I've been in the oil industry, and I've worked my butt off in construction. So I see a lens that way through, hardworking people that do work paycheck to paycheck. You guys paycheck to paycheck, but you're serving our country. So it's really great to get together and have these conversations where we're all looking at it from different angles, saying, okay, we know we have to break it down. We know we have to rebuild it, but where do we start? What hope can we give the American people that are listening tonight? And what kind of blueprint? Because you guys said you took butcher paper and you drew all this out. I had Larry Ortega on a couple of weeks ago, Darin, and I really need to get you guys in contact with him too, because he has a blueprint that we shared with the American people out in Nebraska on how to go in and actually capture the GOP and build the GOP, like we're talking about, breaking it down, building it back up, and making the GOP conservative again instead of the left-leaning GOP that we have today. And how they did that in Nebraska was they kicked him right between the legs. They hit him in the old pocketbook. They figured out a way to cash in on their security bonds by, if there was election fraud and they were part of that fraud, then they sued them for their bond. Well, that bond is $100,000, and they end up having to pay $95,000 of that bond. Well, if they have their house up on mortgage for that bond or other things, Larry Ortega and the crew out of Nebraska are like, okay, well, even if they pay that and decide that they're going to stay in office for the Secretary of State, he says, then we can turn around and we can sue them again. They can sue them 3.5 times. That's over $300,000. Like Larry said, when is that job not going to be worth it anymore, right? So they're figuring out ways in Nebraska and teaching people across the nation on how to attack this at a different angle. And that's what you guys have drawn up, is a way of getting involved, a different angle. And it's going to take every American here to get together and unify and really attack the elite from every angle we possibly can.
If you think that, the meme that you get out of the mainstream media, if you've been a subscriber to this idea that I'm a liberal, therefore I hate conservatives. I'm a conservative, therefore I hate liberals. If you subscribe to that, congratulations. You have eaten the cheese they wanted you to eat, and you are in their trap. If we set that crap aside, we know we all have differences. We're diverse people. I mean, my gosh, that's okay. We all come from different walks of life, different religions, and all of that. And slivers of that, the absolute minorities of that, are shoved down our throats, and we're expected to be lock, stock, and barrel subscribers to that. So you could walk into a restaurant and say, I identify as a llama, and you need to serve me this way. But if you set that all aside, and you come back to basic principles that are laid out in the Constitution, if you understand that we are one nation under God and that there is a higher power than this nation out there, then quickly you'll start to realize that you don't have so many differences with other people, that you can come into your community and make a difference and sort out what is buffoonery from reasonable at the community level. But what we expect, as we roll that up higher and higher, is that the representatives that we select to take action in our name are not only deterred from coming on over to this level of power and corruption that has never been higher, in my opinion, in our nation's history. We have to have the ability to pull them back and say, I hope you enjoyed your 8 days in Congress, but that's unacceptable to us, and we're just not going to have that. We noticed that you really like K Street a lot more than us here in Idaho, so we're going to insist that you come on home. Or go somewhere else. We don't need you here. But what I see happening, and what I'm so optimistic about across the entire nation, is left, right, purple, blue, black, doesn't matter. Everybody is starting to wake up as well, because they honestly do not like seeing $7 at the gas pump, a possibility of no more gas being available, that they're going to have trouble with food, that somebody wants them to eat insects, that somebody wants to depopulate them. Here, have an experimental medicine, we insist. That's not freedom. That's not your rights. Those are not your sovereign rights. And that's not what our founders fought for. What I don't want to be, I don't want to be a member of the generation that failed our founders, our children, or our grandchildren. And that's what motivates me every single day. And I know it motivates Darin too.
Yeah, Blaine, I've said that many a time. As a matter of fact, the very first week I was on YouTube, I had an emotional moment where I looked in the camera and I told people, listen, I can't do this. I can't look my kids in the eyes and tell them that I was part of the generation that lost what America truly is, because I chose to do nothing. Right. And that's why I implore every person that watches LWN to get involved at some level.
Please.
I know we all can't do the same thing. I know some people physically can't leave the house, but that does not mean that they don't have a place at the table to help in restoring our liberties and our freedoms here in America. Everybody has a place at the table, no matter what color, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what sex, no matter, it doesn't matter. What matters is we are all red-blooded Americans.
Amen.
And, you're right. People are waking up to the fact that what America used to be is slipping through our fingers like sand, with the open border policies, 40-year high inflation, all of this stuff that is contributing to what America never was and is now seeming to become. It's up to us. Our generation is that generation that has to restore America and then hand it off to the younger generations to keep it that way. And hopefully they've learned from our experiences, from our failures, from our being silent for too long, that this is not the path to keeping America, that they need to change that as well.
Right. That's exactly right.
And Mike, if I can add to that too, and it's one of the beauties about what Blaine and I got started was because we were veteran founded, but we're certainly not veteran pure and don't want to be. Perspectives matter, but what we bring to the table is the ability to be able to see and understand things overseas as well, not just here.
Right.
So when we're talking about individual leadership, we're very familiar with individual leadership, but the thing we have to impart to the American people is that America has to lead as well. I meet 4 times a week with an international group called the World Liberty Forum, and it's multiple countries around the world. Every single one of them is looking at us for leadership as an example for their own nations. And if we fail in that regard too, then you're watching the demise of something bigger than our country, watching the demise of Western style republics and democracies like New Zealand, Australia, the Dutch and the Netherlands, the UK and Canada, and you could go on. So leadership as a nation, absolutely critical in this regard as well. These people are watching us, and we should act like we are being watched and act appropriately.
That's right.
I love that, Darin. We are that standard that so many people set a bar to. They're like, we need to be like America. Well, a lot of times lately, I feel like we haven't been American enough. We've sat on the couch, we've gotten fat, no pun intended. I'm guilty of that. I've sat on the sideline for too long, but 2 years ago, God give me the old elbow and said, hey, this is what I needed you to do. Now it's time. Get off the couch, get in the game, and make your voice be heard. And he's truly blessed me in doing that. Darin, thank you for that comment. Blaine, could you explain a little bit to my audience? I know Darin did the last time that he was on, but I'd like to get your angle on how Restore Liberty helps the American people. What do you guys do as a group? I know Darin says that he meets with foreign groups, but what else does Restore Liberty do, and how do you guys make an impact here in America?
Well, that's a great question. So when Darin and I set out on this, we started with a goal to build an organization that was, for lack of a better term, non-denominational, not blue, not red, just American. And an organization that would operate in an environment of general tyranny, which we clearly do. But an organization that our founders, Sam Adams, John Adams, Paul Revere, the Sons of Liberty, would recognize immediately, because we set up on the same type of blueprint that they did. That, our nation was largely founded in a tavern system, where groups upon groups upon groups who had an interesting kind of network together that couldn't easily be seen or discerned from what they prerogatively referred to as the lobsters, conducted their affairs. And this led up to incredible events that would spark the separation from England and tyranny. And so we didn't want to compete with any other organization in the nation and say, we do that. We're Liberty Partners for America, and you guys, we don't need you because we already have one of these. That's not us. What we want to do is promote our Constitution. We want to promote our liberties. We want to promote service to our nation. Service, not elected positions. Could be that, but then you would have to actually serve. And we wanted to be able to tap into networks that we thought were really emblematic of constitutional values. It could be a group in Mississippi. It could be a group that covers the Northeast. It could be anything. But what we do is, just like those Sons of Liberty, we wouldn't take their word for it. We would walk around them substantially, do background checks. And then when we were ready to approach one person in that group, we will shoulder tap them. We actually in our group call that a shoulder tap. And we'll say, in fact, we're behind on like 4 or 5 shoulder taps right now. But I have a very frustrated individual who's a brother to me in Georgia, and he is like, when am I getting my call? But we will do a shoulder tap and say, hey, look, we're not wanting to envelop your organization or everything that you do. We would like you to be in our organization at this level, and as things develop in our nation and we see something that's going to swoop up and involve what it is you bring to the table, we would like to be able to pick up and call you from time to time about that. And what I'm proud to say is, and again, there's an educational arm, promotes education in the Constitution. We have an intellectual arm where we're going to be reaching out to America's best scholars to write new versions of Federalist Papers and pick up with 87. And then we have our political arm, which would identify local and state burgeoning leaders and committed, motivated people who will serve in school boards, county commissions, and state level positions. We espouse this idea of a constitutional sanctuary to refute this nonsense about illegal immigration sanctuaries. Let's get governors who say, we stand for the Constitution in this state. Oh, really? Prove it. And let's get a bunch of you together and tell the federal level that if it's against the Constitution, it's not going to fly in this state. Let's do that. But that's what we've done. In less than 20 months, on $50,000 and a dog named Rex, we're up in, what's the state count now, Darin?
We're approaching 40. So it's pretty exciting to see.
I think that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then Darin does a lot of national media. He's on radio. He's on different networks. I have the privilege of being a Newsmax contributor, and I do some radio. And so we're able to, we don't subscribe to a particular political dogma. What we try to do is call balls and strikes. We try to warn the nation to some of the perils that they face and why. And we try to get folks drawn to Restore Liberty as a, this makes a lot of sense to me. It should. It's your Constitution. It's your freedoms. and I'd like to learn more. But what we don't embark on is agendas. We're not after any kind of personalities. We just know that, like most Americans, things aren't quite right. And we all know what it is. And not everybody can articulate what's not quite right. And so we do our best to do that. And we do our best to do that in a way that's empathetic and inclusive to folks of all different types of political perspective, because after all, we're America. We are absolutely a nation of arguments, which is great. It's what the founders designed. But there should be a safe kind of cordon for that debate to take place. And what we would say is, come one, come all. Come to Restore Liberty, because what we're after is your liberties. We want you to have them, and we want you to prosper.
Amen. I think we hit it hard at the very beginning of the show when we said, it's not about red or blue. It's about the American people getting their power back. And, Hillary Clinton just came out last week and already planted the seed that the 2024 election is going to be stolen. It's going to be stolen by the Republicans.
Yeah, it's rigged. It's 2.5 years away, but it's rigged. Yeah.
The Democrats, real down-to-earth Democrats, really have to be concerned about their liberties, their freedoms, election integrity as well.
I talk to them all the time, Mike. Yeah, they're like, we didn't sign up for this. This is not us.
It's not a red and blue. It's not a red and blue thing. It's a red, white, and blue thing, an American thing that we all should be concerned about election integrity. We should all be concerned about medical tyranny. We should all be concerned about an open southern border. We all should be concerned about 40-year inflation. We should all be concerned that we are on the verge of getting drug into World War III. I pay attention to that stuff. I research that stuff every day, and it is concerning to me that we have an administration that is more than asleep at the wheel. They don't even have the common sense it takes to drive the bus in the first place, 1 and 2. And you know who I'm talking about, 1 and 2. And then you look at number 3, and she's 2 scotches in. She can't drive the bus either because she's impaired. So
we deserve better.
Yeah,
we deserve better. we work too hard for this.
We need better. And it's time for America to join together and work together, Democrats and Republicans, to ensure that we do have better.
That's right.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. In fact, there's a statement or a phrase I like to use that besides the one that says we better all hang together or we should all hang separately. If you remember that quote, there's a lot of people in this country right now that are playing this chessboard game to where they think they're the rooks, the knights, the queens, even the pawns on the board. And in the end, there's going to be a victory, and they're probably going to be left standing there. And I'll tell you that most of those folks are not even the paint on the squares on the board as you move around. And in the end, if this country goes the way that it could go, which we all pray it does not, well, every single person, when someone starves, they're all going to starve. It doesn't matter which party you are. When there's a food shortage, an energy shortage, a water shortage, any of those critical things that sustain, magnify life, if they're not there, they don't care what color you call yourself. They don't care if you're an elephant or a donkey. We all suffer together. So we've all got to work together in order to overcome that.
It's great that you guys are working with both sides of the aisle, because I'm guilty. I'm guilty of sometimes wanting to stay in my lane, and I get so frustrated with the other side. And so it's refreshing to have you guys come in and say, hey, listen, the red side, the conservative side, the blue side is just as concerned as you guys are. They didn't sign up for this. You have no idea how refreshing that is for these old ears.
Do you honestly think most liberals want to see their kids at 5 years of age open to genital mutilation because some teacher said you might be confused about what you are?
No, I think it's a very small percentage of this country, like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3%, maybe even less than that are absolutely cuckoo.
But 90% of the camera time on the media, and that makes a difference.
Yeah,
I'd love to introduce you to a term, if I could, real quick.
Go ahead.
It'll make sense to you when I describe it. It's called, in the military, we called it overseas the strategic corporal. And it'll go exactly back to what Blaine said. When all the cameras in the entire facility or whatever that event is are all focused in one place, and that one person is creating an event, oftentimes it's fictitious in the first place, in order to influence the public relations world, everybody thinks that's what's happening.
Right.
99% of the people that are standing around watching this thing, they recognize it as theater. So we've got to get away in this country from this idea that wherever the camera's focusing, that's the problem. It's not. It's the problem they're trying to create.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I know that we all get pulled into the drama, but I don't believe that there are any Democrats out there, liberals, or any American out there that is just good common sense and loves their family that would want to do that to their kids. But it definitely gets magnified, and we see a lot of it around the country. It's more than just one spot, but they definitely use that to their advantage. And this is what I tell my listeners. Mainstream media is a propaganda machine, and it puts out the propaganda for the left. But you also got to pay attention, because the right does the same thing. The right puts out just as much propaganda as the left does, to confuse, to divide, and to really just rule over us. And we really need to wake up to both sides. Because it's not, there are no Republicans and there are no Democrats. It's just us against them. And I got to give that guy credit. I can't even, when I started watching his videos, I'm like, he's right. It is us, the American people,
Right. It's we the
against,
people. No one's
yeah,
coming.
yeah,
We got to
yeah.
save ourselves.
We have to save
That's
ourselves.
right.
There's too many people.
Yeah,
There's too many people on top of their roof screaming for help
that's right.
during a flood, asking God for help, and God keeps sending them ship after
No.
ship and rowboat after rowboat with
Right.
gentlemen like you and so many great guests that I've had on the show that are teaching people how to save themselves.
Right.
And they refuse to do it because why? Because somebody's going to come riding in and take care of all this stuff for them, and they don't have to lift a finger and do
Yeah.
anything. And
Well,
that's
Darin and I
part
laugh
of
about
the
this.
plan.
Darin and I laugh about this all the time. We call them hopium merchants who will get out there and they'll travel around the country. They'll charge you $400 to come and hear the words, trust the plan. And what's the plan? Because it seems like it's getting awfully bad. And if there's a plan, it might be time to see what that is because, gosh, World War III looks like it's awfully close. And it just seems like 17 days of diesel is a little bit close. So what can you tell me about when this plan's going to come off? And what I would say is forget all that. Forget all that. Grab a shovel. Come on in. Join us. Get with us. Become the nag that your representatives hate. Call Washington. Melt their switchboards. And when you're tired of doing that, go get 5 other people in your neighborhood to go do the same thing because, this is our nation. It's not theirs. And they work for us. It's not the other way around. And they're not more powerful than us, no matter what they say to you. And our best days in this country, I absolutely believe, are ahead of us. I don't doubt that for 5 seconds. I just think it's a really bad time. But I am encouraged and I am motivated and fueled by the amount of people that I see waking up going, oh, this has got to stop. And it's like, well, how do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah.
We have to do it.
We have to do it. And, I try to explain that to the audience and to other people out there that keep talking about the plan and, hey, something big's going to happen September 24th and September 24th comes and goes. And I keep telling them, you got to quit listening to prophets, to anybody out there telling you to sit on the couch and wait for something to happen.
Yes.
You got to listen to the people like Blaine and like Darin and like Larry Ortega and Paul Engel and so many wonderful people that I brought on this program that say, hey, like you said, Blaine, grab a shovel, roll up your sleeves, and get out here in the trenches with us and help us dig and help us fight and help us scratch and claw and get the Constitution restored here in America. Because if we don't, you're going to be sitting on that couch. World War III is going to pop off. The plan's never going to happen. And you're going to be sitting there going, oh, crap. Now what do I do?
But even if all these bad things happen, at least be the person who can look their child or their grandchild in the eyes and go, I tried. I grabbed a shovel. I tried my best, but I grabbed a shovel. I did that. So, you get to pick, but it's awfully calm, nice weather right now to pick on this side of this thing.
Amen.
I like
gentlemen,
that some people don't move till they're uncomfortable, and there are people with a high pain tolerance out there.
That's right.
Good, very good point. We all wake up at different times and different levels, and we're all at different levels, and I get that. I do show people grace, but I just want people to really just wake up and get involved. As we wrap this hour up, gentlemen, and I appreciate you coming on. I'd love to have you come back. I think it was such a great conversation. Blaine, it was a pleasure finally getting to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from Darin. He speaks highly of you, and I'm glad that you're here in Idaho now. So welcome to Idaho. I'd just like to roll into final thoughts here and leave the listener with hope, with something that that's tangible, that they can just say, you know what, man, that hour was worth sitting here listening to. I learned something. Now I have a plan. Now I know that I can actually go out and make a difference. And I just think that there's so much information out there and there's so many different angles that people can get involved and do things. They don't have to do it all. Not everybody can go to every school board meeting, every city council. I understand that. So pick your lane and make your difference where you can and make the biggest impact. And so final thought for tonight, just whatever you guys feel like the audience needs to hear.
Well, I'll defer to the general and let him go last to wrap things up. Us little colonels do that. But I think what you're alluding to there is something I love to preach to people around the world and around the country, frankly, is that community is coming back, and the speed at which it comes back and the effectiveness of that community is up to you where you live at this time right now. And if you can continue doing that, what you said was perfect. Stop worrying about trying to drain the swamp. Keep an eye on that. But if that's not where you function best or what your passion is, do what you do at your own hometown and inside your community. Because I guarantee you, as I travel the country, as Blaine travels the country, we're seeing it because these groups and things are coming together around the country. And all that means is that community is there. So get involved, be part of that community. I guarantee you that we can turn this ship around.
Thank you.
So I'll finish with this. I love history. And I'm an eternal optimist. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you've got to be an eternal optimist or you're not coming out of the blocks. But what I will say is one of my favorite Churchill quotes is you can always trust the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else. And I think finally we've tried everything else. And to Darin's point, grab a shovel, get into your community, do something. And by all means, don't go past that church on Sunday. Stop in, get on your knees, pray, because God wants his people back.
Amen.
And a nation that's separated from its God, especially when it professes to be one nation under God, is in deep trouble. And we've lost our way. And we're going towards the rocks. And God's going to be just fine either way. But we would do well now. We would do well now to humble ourselves and be solemn with these times that we're going to go through. We should really rally together, and that's what kind of got Darin and I all fired up about setting up this beautiful organization called Restore Liberty, whose DNA goes all the way back to the founding. And no matter what, we'll be out there swinging because we're going to be happy. We're going to be happy in the Lord, and we're going to rejoice. But we're going to get after this work.
Amen. Well, thanks for that, Blaine. I would love to see you guys come to Idaho. I know you already live here, Blaine, but I would love off air, obviously, to put something together for next year. To have both of you. We can. I've got a lot of contacts here in the Boise area, Blaine. As a matter of fact, we were planning something here this week, and it had to be postponed. So maybe we revisit that for come springtime. And love to have both of you come and speak and just have a really cool rally here in Boise, Idaho. And with that being said, I'm going to leave with Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin said, any man who's willing to give up any liberty for a little bit of safety deserves neither. And I truly believe that that's what America has been doing for a long, long, long time. We've been giving up a little bit of our liberties for a little bit of safety because that's what they told us that we had to do. And we have become a nation of tolerance, and it's time to quit tolerating these elite and their power over us and to take the power back, we the people. So thanks for joining me this evening, gentlemen. I really do appreciate it. Can't wait to have you on again. God bless each and every one of you tonight. Have a great evening, and we'll catch you back on the next one.
God bless. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.